the peak of his operation, Pablo Escobar was making $420 million a week, not a year, a week, nearly $22 billion annually. His cartel controlled 80% of the world's cocaine supply and was smuggling 15 tons of product into the United States every single day. He had so much cash coming in that he literally could not store it fast enough. His brother Roberto, who served as the cartel's chief accountant, later wrote that they wrote off 10% of their total cash every single year, not to taxes, not to legal fees, to rats. The rats ate the money. The moisture rotted it. The sheer volume of physical bills made proper storage impossible. That write-off was approximately $2.1 billion a year in eaten, rotting, unrecoverable cash. There is no business school case study for this. There is no financial model that accounts for $2.1 billion in annual losses to rodents. But that was the reality of what Escobar built. An operation so profitable that losing $2 billion a year to storage problems was a rounding error. This is how he built it. Pablo Escobar did not start in cocaine. He started the way most self-made criminals start, small, opportunistic, and willing to do things other people weren't. Born in 1949 in Rio Negro, Colombia, the son of a farmer and a school teacher, Escobar began his criminal career as a teenager selling fake diplomas, falsifying report cards, and stealing tombstones to resell the marble. He graduated to stealing cars. His first arrest came in 1974 for car theft. He was 24 years old and already building a reputation, not for violence, not yet, but for audacity, for being the guy who would do what other people talked about. By the mid-1970s, he had moved into cocaine, and the timing was everything. American demand for the drug was exploding. The infrastructure to supply it at scale didn't yet exist. The market was fragmented, inefficient, brutally competitive, and enormously profitable for anyone who could organize it. Escobar saw a supply chain problem and solved it. In 1976, alongside his cousin Gustavo Gaviria, the Ochoa brothers, and Carlos Leader, he co-founded what became the Medellin Cartel, the largest criminal organization in history and the most dominant cocaine distribution network the world has ever seen. Here is how the business model actually worked. Cocaine begins as coca leaf, grown primarily in Bolivia and Peru. The cartel purchased the raw material from farmers, transported it to clandestine processing labs deep in the Colombian jungle, facilities with capacities rivaling small industrial plants, and converted it into cocaine hydrochloride at a cost of approximately $1,500 per kilogram. That same kilogram, once smuggled into the United States, wholesaled for approximately $35,000. On the street, broken into smaller quantities, it retailed for significantly more. The markup from production to U.S. wholesale alone was over 2,000%. No legal business in the world operates at those margins, not pharmaceuticals, not luxury goods, not technology. The logistics were the genius. Escobar was endlessly inventive about getting the product across the border. Cocaine hidden inside airplane tires. Pilots who ran that route earned up to $500,000 per flight. Submarines, modified fuel tanks on aircraft, refrigerated cargo containers, hollowed out lumber. The DEA would identify a method, shut it down, and Escobar would have 3 new methods in operation before the announcement was made. The cartel was processing an estimated 500 tons of cocaine annually at its height. Getting 15 tons of that into the U.S. every single day required a logistics operation of extraordinary complexity and coordination. The cartel ran transportation networks across Colombia, through Central America, through the Bahamas, into Miami, and then outward across the United States. Miami was the primary entry point in the early years, so dominant that the city's murder rate quadrupled between 1979 and 1981 as cartel violence over distribution territory spilled into the streets. Cocaine surpassed coffee as Colombia's largest export. The $420 million a week entering the cartel's books was larger than the GDP of many of the countries the product passed through. The money itself became a problem. The cartel was spending $2,500 a month on rubber bands just to hold the stacks of bills together. The cash was stored in farming fields, dilapidated warehouses, inside the walls of cartel members' homes, buried in properties across Colombia. Roberto Escobar estimated that a portion of the total fortune, potentially billions, was buried and never recovered because the people who knew where it was died before it could be retrieved. When Escobar's son Juan Pablo, who later changed his name and has spent his adult life speaking out against his father's legacy, was hiding in the mountains with his family, Escobar burned $2 million in cash to keep them warm. Not a metaphor. Literal banknotes burned for heat because carrying them was impractical and he could afford to. The laundering operation ran through real estate, through art. The cartel owned works by Picasso and Salvador Dali, through front companies and through direct corruption. Escobar didn't just pay bribes, he industrialized bribery. He had a standing offer called plata o plomo, silver or lead. You take the payment or you take the bullet. Colombian judges, police officers, politicians, and military officials were offered the choice. Most took the silver. Those who didn't, including 3 presidential candidates, a justice minister, a state governor, and over 1,000 police officers, took the lead. Here is the financial scale of the political operation he ran alongside the drug operation. Escobar offered to pay off Colombia's entire national debt, $10 billion, in exchange for immunity from extradition to the United States. The offer was refused. He then declared war on the Colombian state with the resources of a mid-sized nation. He funded his own political career, winning a seat in Colombia's Congress in 1982 until the justice minister exposed his criminal background and had him removed. The justice minister was assassinated shortly after. Escobar built housing for the poor in Medellin, constructed football stadiums, funded community programs. The people of certain Medellin neighborhoods called him Don Pablo. The poor called him Robin Hood. The Forbes rich list included him in 1989 with a net worth estimated at $2.7 billion, a significant undercount of the real number, but remarkable for being on the list at all under his own name. He was the 7th richest person in the world, according to Forbes, openly, publicly, while running the largest drug trafficking operation in history. The end came from multiple directions simultaneously. The Colombian government, under enormous pressure from the United States, which was losing the war on drugs to an operation running out of a single city, eventually assembled a task force called Search Block, a special police unit dedicated exclusively to finding Escobar. Los Pepes, people persecuted by Pablo Escobar, a vigilante group comprising former cartel members, rival traffickers, and paramilitaries, began hunting his network. The Cali cartel, his longtime rivals, provided intelligence to authorities. The cartel's infrastructure was dismantled piece by piece. His key lieutenants were killed or captured. His safe houses were burned. The network that had moved 15 tons of cocaine into the U.S. every day collapsed under the combined weight of law enforcement, rival violence, and the defection of people inside the organization. On December 2nd, 1993, Colombian police tracked Escobar to a house in a middle-class neighborhood in Medellin through his phone calls. He had been making the mistake of staying on the line too long. He was killed on a rooftop fleeing barefoot the day after his 44th birthday. The cartel was worth $420 million a week at its peak and was dismantled within a decade of reaching that number. The money is still out there, buried in fields, hidden in walls, scattered across Colombia in locations that died with the people who placed it. His brother Roberto estimates the total fortune at somewhere above $500 billion. The Colombian government has recovered a fraction of it. The rats got some, the mold got some, the fire got $2 million on a cold night in the mountains. The rest is somewhere in the ground. Nobody has a map.